And that's what we know now of cosmology, what we know of the holographic principles and of entanglement and non-locality and all of the elements of the subtle realms, where the new physics, of course, is that, and quantum physics is a parallel of all the mystical understandings of interconnection and all of the clairs, clairaudience, clairvoyance, the people joke, call them declares. So we have all of that on the table before us. And so we're not only understanding, in a sense, in that bigger sense, what inner spirituality is, but I think defining what are the major points that are what they call holotropic attractors, to use Irvin Laszlo's terms, that are the attractors toward moving people in this direction.
Mm. You mentioned earlier that in your own journey, even though you became, you went to seminary and became an Anglican monk, that the container wasn't large enough for how you experienced the reality of the spiritual world. Could you just share a little bit more about that?
And that had been happening innately, because when you read the volumes, you'll see the section on the monastic interreligious dialogue. And of course, all of you know the buzzwords, the East-West dialogue, which was then followed by the North-South dialogue. All of you know those buzzwords. But that started across the monastic communities of all the world's religions, the Sufis, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians, everyone was writing to each other. Back in those days, the monastic interreligious dialogue was mimeograph. Now, if you go online, it's an entire department of the Vatican, and it has its own very sophisticated newsletter that's curated by Brother Cyprian at the Vatican. And so the beginning of that East-West dialogue started from the mystics understanding that they were experiencing the same thing. In fact, there's this great quote in the books from Father Keating when he said that when people would come to the dialogues, they realized that their worldviews were different, but what they were experiencing was the same. And so that conversation started, you all know Thomas Merton with his pioneer work between Zen and Catholicism, and then Bede Griffiths and his with the Bridge to Hinduism and his whole community, out of which came Wayne Teasdale, Russell Paul, Rupert Sheldrake, who's Andrew Harvey. So all of these people were spin-offs of Bede Griffiths. And when Bede Griffiths went to India, when you read his autobiography, he said, that's where I found the other half of my soul. And it's interesting because what Aurobindo had said about that is that the Eastern religions are like the thread that holds the necklace of reality together. And the Western religions are like the beads of separate silos that run along that thread, because the Western mind is a parsing mind. The Eastern mind tends to be a unifying, dynamic mind. So there's a lot of metaphors there.